Okay, man, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Now, come on, now crank this motherfucker up.
Break it down like this.
Hello, Internet. Gino the Pinguino Greco here again with another episode of Deep Listens, and today we're discussing Final Fantasy, but not the fourth one, because unfortunately we got the sickness. We got the Gacha sickness. There are a couple of Final Fantasy Gacha games that are, at least one of them is going to be going out of business soon, so we figured we needed to cover it before it went away forever. So today we are discussing Final Fantasy All the Bravest and Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. And joining me, as always, to discuss all things Final Fantasy, Chris ZombiePie Redacted. How are you doing, ZP?
I know that the belly button is considered a mucous membrane, but is it also considered an erogenous zone?
You've made this joke before, and I hate that I know that. We are also joined by Jeff Rude. How are you doing, Jeff?
I was doing so good for most of the day until that.
Great. All right. Before we get started talking about these two Gacha games, our normal plugs, you can get in touch with the show at Deep Listens Pod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. That is our email address. You can support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens, which would get you access to our Discord. We have a $3 tier now, which if you do that, gets you access to the OG Soncast, the anime podcast that ZP hosts with Braden and Pete from the main show. Yeah, all of your favorite folks discussing anime. You recorded a podcast on Ergo Proxy? Which one is it, ZP? Ergo Proxy.
There's an R there.
That's coming out. That'll be the first Patreon exclusive one. That's recorded, right? It's getting edited.
Yeah, sure, maybe. I think so.
Yeah.
I don't. You know, as I've said before, I don't actually listen to the podcasts, so maybe.
And you did you pick what the next show is going to be?
Yes, we're going to be listening to 1997 or the 90s version of Berserk. This is a Pete pick.
Okay. A 90s
The one with
version.
the good music and not the terrible CG animation.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, check that out. And we are getting ominously close to having to play Mass Effect Andromeda. So you can be the person to force us to do that. If we're counting the people at the $3 tier as two, because they're paying more. So we are ominously close. So without further ado, do we want? No one's disrupting this with food. Is anyone disrupting this
No, I
with
got
food?
stuff. Okay. Do you want to do last plugs?
No, that's all the plugs.
Okay. All right, I got two things, 2 for 1. They were on sale, so I had to get 2.
Okay.
I don't know how either of you feel about energy bars, but I am very tired, and I have advised myself against. Got to open the boxes. God damn it. Okay. So they were on sale. These are some big names. These are bars. And they were at the Safeway. And I got them. I got 2 very distinct flavors. They're basically complete opposites of one another. The first one is going to be from the Luna company. I've never had any of their products.
You've never had a
And the
Luna
other
bar
one-
before?
No, because I thought that Luna was the one where it had estrogen in it when it was for women. I thought that was the women's bar, but apparently they don't do that anymore.
I don't think it has estrogen in it, but it is targeted at women.
The other one is a Lara bar. My dad eats these, I do not. I, generally speaking, tend to stay away from energy bars because they're usually full of sugar, and if I'm going to eat something that is basically a candy, I'll eat candy. All right, so the Luna bar is advertised as having your 2 favorite flavors in one bar. This is the lemon zest plus blueberry kind with 7 grams of protein, gluten-free and non-GMO, made with organic oats. Again, these are usually a dietary scam. because they are usually loaded with sugar. This one, not so much. It's a small bar. One serving is 19 to 20% of your sugar intake.
Okay.
And it's got basically next to no nutrition.
What?
Okay.
It's got protein, I assume.
It's got jelly jam on top of it with, I guess, yeah, oats with kind of that like white chocolate coating on the bottom to keep the graham cracker stuff. Oh God, that smells strong. Holy crap!
So this is a Luna bar?
Luna bar. This is blueberry and lemon zest.
Okay. Well, he's hopefully not making mouth noises too loudly into the microphone. Jeff, have you ever had a Luna bar before?
I've had quite a few. They're fine. I think the RX prescription bar I would put above there. All of these have, that nice energy bar, chalky kind of
Yep. That's what I just hit.
Meal replacement
Mealy.
sort of vibe,
It's
But
got
you
that
could do worse.
almost like potassium tablet, chalky flavor.
I personally like the Luna bar.
Yeah.
It is of the like sugary protein bar
It
sort of deal.
is.
It is
Okay, so that
one of
in
the better
particular,
ones.
I think the blueberry is okay. I think it's more of a jam flavor thing. The lemon is overpowering. Holy crap. And I just think that the oatmeal or the oats here, like, they don't really have a very good, strong taste. I think I'm going to just lick the bottom of this. Is that white chocolate or is that the lemon?
It's not white chocolate. It's some sort of lemony glaze sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the lemon glaze. Glaze me with that, huh?
No, thank you. So what did you think of the Luna bar?
It's a little on the chalkier side. I thought it's something funny, but I'm not going to say it here.
Don't.
Gino would kill me.
You're right.
No, it's a little on the chalkier side. If you're like Gino and you like Luna bars, are these for vegetable peoples like you, or are there like animal products in them?
It's vegetarian. I don't.
What's chicory?
Chicory?
It's a plant.
It's a plant.
Tends to be a root, chicory root. It'd be in there.
Okay.
It is used as a sweetener.
I still don't believe it when Gino says that he eats like anise bulbs.
Yeah.
Okay, let's open up the oh, this is what the fuck is this Laura bar? This is like what the fuck?
What?
I'm pro Laura bar.
What the fuck is this?
It's a bar.
It's like
describe it. Use your words.
It's like a brick of like rubber, but it's got nuts in it. Like what?
It's very limited ingredient. I personally would put the Laura bar pretty high on the if I have to eat one of these.
Okay, so I got the special edition 2 ingredients bar.
Okay, what are the ingredients?
So it is just cashews, cashew cookie, ingredients, cashews, dates.
There you go.
All right.
Ah,
you have a date with some cashews, it looks like.
I mean, I like cashews. I'm not a huge date guy.
Enjoy. Go on the date.
It's like a fucking biting into my bicycle tire.
Bite it. Chow down, bro.
It's a little softer than actually eating rubber or an eraser.
Yeah, I bet. I bet it is, because it's meant to be eaten, unlike rubber or your tire. Jeff, you said RX bars are kind of your go-to. I feel like RX bars and the Lara bars are cousins.
They're, honestly, pretty interchangeable. When the price is right.
Yeah, that's the thing is like I used to be a Cliff Bar guy, and then the price of them even at Costco got ridiculous because of Biden.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah,
well, they're not ice cream, and I figure I gotta make them more expensive. So, like that was what he said. Literally, he did that today.
He targeted Cliff Bars directly. Yeah, Lara bars, I feel like, and RX bars, both are here's what we put in it, and it says it on the logo, and then that's it. But-
There's not really a flavor to the Lara bar, which I think makes it a little bit more pleasant than the Luna bar.
I mean, it's just dates
Yeah,
and
It's just
cashews.
nuts. It's just nuts and cashews. So there's really
Yeah,
not any.
I bet
sugar
it
in them,
tastes. I bet it tastes like dates and cashews.
which is nothing.
So I've got a thing.
Uh-huh.
I have a thing to share.
Okay.
I'm holding in my hand to counter all of the the health benefits that are purported to come from the foods.
Can I give
that,
this? I'm gonna give this a 4. I think I like the Lara bar more.
Okay.
I'm gonna give the Luna bar a 3. I'm gonna give
Legal.
the Lara bar a 4.
Coming to you from Victoria, British Columbia, I'm holding in my hand a Spinnaker's root beer from the Spinnaker's Soda
Ooh.
Company. I have recently realized that root beer is actually pretty good. It was not a thing I've had a lot of in the last 10 or 15 years. But, sometimes you're in, let's say, like a different state of mind where things you experience them differently, and root beer grafts onto that part of my brain really well. So I'm gonna try this root beer right now. Here we go.
ZP, have you ever had those spiked root beers?
No, actually, no. I take that back. Yes, I have. They're fine. I mean, they're okay.
I used to have
I
those
just-
back when I drank.
I
don't
don't
anymore.
like alcohol when it's sugary. I like
Mm,
I like beer to taste like beer. I guess the difference is as I've started to warm up, oddly enough, ever since I met Jeff in person when we went out to get drinks. We got a flight, correct, Jeff?
We did.
And that was my entry point for sours, and I've started to go down the sour hole. I've started puckering up my sour hole.
Get into some goses.
don't
Yeah.
get lost in the sour hole. Okay, Jeff, how is this root beer? How does it compare
is
to
a-
other root beers?
This is a nice little root beer. For me, there's a triangle. Root beer is a triangle.
Okay.
There is on one corner you've got Barks, which is a very like spearmint forward kind of bracing herbal flavor. On another one you've got A&W, which has more of a like cream thing going on. Almost lactic. All these are like really sweet too. And then at the third point you have something like Dad's or Mug. Actually, Mug belongs there.
No.
Mug's terrible. Mug's like
Muggs is
something you should.
awful.
Yeah. This is somewhere on the like.
I feel like the flavor profile of a Dad's also leans more into the anise side of the root
Yeah, I
beer.
like the licorice. The licorice root beers tend to be my favorite. The ones that are heavy, like
so this
Virgil's.
is down between an A&W and a Barks.
Okay.
Somewhere in that spectrum. So we've got a little medicinal little herb thing. It's also pretty damn sweet, but I mean they all are.
It's more
that's
like
nice.
more towards the Henry Weinhards.
Man, I haven't had a Henry Weinard's root beer for like 20 years.
They're more of a vanilla
Okay.
root beer.
Maybe I should give these a go. Anyway, I'm gonna give that. I think it's gonna get 4 buckets of popcorn. I think Oscar's talking about it quite a bit.
Excellent. Okay, so
Oscar's giving a big talk.
should we start with all the Bravest or with Brave Exvius? Where do we want to start?
Well, you
You
guys
both
should probably
finished.
talk about Brave Exvius.
Okay, so ZP, how far did you get into Brave Exvius?
I played it for 4, maybe 5 days. Brave Exvius is and might go down in history as one of the largest and most profit-making games ever made by Square Enix. It is being shut down as of the recording and possibly publishing of this podcast in approximately 1 month from now.
Mm-hmm. So get in there
It-
if you want to play it.
Is a turn-based role-playing game that takes elements from the mainstay Final Fantasy games and kind of merges them with a partner that Square Enix was working with, known as Alum. Alum is best probably known for their work on the Brave Frontier games. That is their big gacha thing that they had done previously to this. And similar to Brave Frontier, the battle system is a highly simplified UI UX. Players can command their characters to attack by tapping on the screens of their phone, Amazon tablets, Fire tablets, and I think that this was also on Android and virtually every tablet that used Android OS. But you have just a very limited set of attacks and moves. You have trinkets, whether it be offensive weapons, armors, or items like bangles or your usual Final Fantasy standbys. It is in a pixel art style, but more notoriously or reputationally, this is a gacha game where your characters that you have in your party have rankings to them. There's as well as the summons, and these ranks range from 1 star to 5 star, and then even 5-star summons with only a star base of 5 being the normal one, though you can boost them to get 6 to 7 stars. And you can also recruit an additional 6th player to your party. And because this is a Square Enix title, there are crossover characters, whether it be Secret of Mana, Kingdom Hearts, or Tomb Raider characters. And there was, I don't know if you got to this, an opportunity for you to add in Ariana Grande and Katy Perry to your game.
I did not add Ariana Grande or Katy Perry to my game. I did get many Final Fantasy characters because in this game you play as Rain, who is a knight, and he's got a buddy named Laswell. His dad is Reagan. There's it's a Final Fantasy game. There's crystals. They're getting smashed. You need to stop the person who's smashing them. But early on, you find out that Rain can see visions. ZP, what's a vision? What are visions?
Visions are basically just God. So visions
Guest
are
characters.
they're the guest characters that are your Final Fantasy characters, as well as those crossover characters.
How did we get Ariana Grande into this game? Well, you see, she's a vision who also communed with the Earth Crystal or the Water Crystal or the Wind. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's how they inject whatever gacha character they want into this game, which means that your characters, you start with Rain and, your canonical characters, but as so often is the case with gacha games, if you do any pulls from the latest banner, you will outclass every single thing until you get to the high level content.
It's well, look, I mean, even though at the time we praised like Opera Omnia and even to a certain extent Mobius Final Fantasy, when we played those games, they had balance. By the time we had moved on from both of those games, even Opera Omnia had the problem of the characters that have been introduced in the latest season are 3 times better than the characters you had at the start of this.
Yes. Yes. The weapons were like the scaling on these sorts of games tend to be such that if you get the thing from the latest banner, you are going to outclass every single thing in the game until you get to the late game content. And that is the case here. We are coming to this game late, which means that if we had the temerity to do any pulls, this was not a game. If you do any pulls or if you have a guest character who has a high level, like you're allowed to bring in a character from a online player. If they are in your party and are high level, they will make the game a joke. So if you engage with the mechanics the way they want you to, you can basically breeze through all the low level content on full auto. So ZP, did you find any of the combat engaging?
Yes, once I got to some of the more later tail end. Look, I think that this game is, of every single Final Fantasy mobile game that we have played, this might have the starkest and most prominent, this is the wall. This is the Candy Crush wall. You have reached the point where you can maybe kind of sort of find the way to move on, but boy, it's really easier if you give us $5 for in-game currency. So I hit that wall. It was a lot later than what I thought it would be. Maybe that's because we're going into this much later.
Yeah, and they
than when-
turned off paying. You can't pay anymore.
Yeah. But there's still that moment where there are parts of the game that were clearly designed to knock the shit out of you. So is that those parts of the game would either force you to grind in-game, however the designers of this game saw fit, or what if you just gave them money?
Yes. Did you participate in any of the free polls?
Sure, I mean, like, it's not that hard. They also give you, at this point, leading into the game's end and eventual death, they give you a decent amount of in-game currency to just, play around with.
Yes. So they give you a ton of in-game currency. They also give you a bunch of free polls. To access the free polls, Jeffrey, you have to watch an ad, a 10 to 30-second ad for every one of those free polls you do.
So tell me, what was the best other mobile game you were marketed while playing Brave Exvius?
Oh boy. The one that stood out to me.
There's this confounding puzzle because you have to make the lava flow out of the room so it goes into the water and then it turns solid and then they pull the thing out and the lava falls on the man. Oh, I can beat it.
I don't know why you guys are. I genuinely don't know why you guys are making such a weird reaction to this. These games are on freaking YouTube nonstop. Like that, they have.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's to be clear. It's like I'm aware. I know. I'm more just like I can kind of just predict what's going to be in here just based on like.
That wasn't the one.
The people.
You're wrong.
Like
that
the
wasn't the
playing
one that
this is some dumb mobile chud.
That wasn't the one. The ad that got me the most was some sort of bingo game that seemed to be automated bingo, where you had 6 bingo cards simultaneously, and the ad was just bingo, 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 mega bingo, hyper bingo, quad bingo, and it kept escalating with explosions and sound effects, and I was like, what the... This is for gambling. There's no gameplay here. At no point am I making game. It's just filling in bingo cards as bingo numbers are rattled off. And then another one, which was like, this is a slot machine, and if you don't win the slot machine within the first 5 minutes for a jackpot, you will not... I guarantee that you will win a jackpot within the first 5 minutes of this game. And I'm like, what are... Oh, this is targeting degenerate gamblers, but I don't know how. I don't know how they take the money from them. It seems like they're auto playing, but I don't for gifts of explosions. But
here's the deal,
I don't know.
So it gets you that way. It also the game gets you with, it has the typical ways in which, okay, so you like that, you like the feeling of pulling things. What if you spent money on this? We cannot emphasize enough. This game alone, during Square Enix's darkest periods in the 2010s, this game alone helped Square Enix achieve profitability when literally the Final Fantasy 13 series was still on goddamn fire. Just to give you an idea, in 2018, Square Enix admitted in their shareholders meetings that Brave Exvius was making about $13 million per month. Per month! This game was making $13 to $15 million. Like in Japan alone, per month, it was making $3 million on the iTunes App Store, $4 million on the Google Play Store, and the English version, which had, they had eased into North America, was making $2 million on the App Store alone, $4 million on Google Play. Like this was, and this will go down, even though it is being shut down, as maybe the biggest financial boon this company has ever seen. Ever.
And the amount of effort, very low to extract that money.
Yeah.
The story, what I mean, ZP, I didn't get far enough in for it to feel like there was a story that was worth a
I think
damn.
that here's the weird thing. It made me appreciate Mobius Final Fantasy more because at least that game has named characters that are progressing along with you. And like actually have arcs and progression and stuff like this. This game made me appreciate Mobius and even to a certain extent Opera Omnia more because those games had carefully crafted environments, carefully crafted stories, characters sometimes like really like bleeding their hearts out in front of you. And they were going for something beyond just the standard stuff. This game feels the most bare and craven gacha stuff because it is just about you start in this world Lapis, there's magical crystals, you see visions, you play Rain. Rain is a young knight. Go on adventure. There's a the evil person is literally called Dark Lord.
Sure is.
And you don't know what their motivation is for hours. But they just want to destroy the crystals.
Watch out for that.
Each of the visions have like this like vignette that allows them to be their typical fan servicey things. Like they have environments in which they're at least introduced. But if you want to keep them, you're gonna have to pull them. And I guess it's cool when they introduce that healer. The healer archer, Fina.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to track down, what is it, Veritas? It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird.
Yeah. And the art, if you haven't seen it, Jeff, it looks almost like maybe that FF4 for PSP. It's not a good art style. Like they're big, the sprites. They're big and chunky in a fairly small. I mean, it's on your phone, so it's a fairly small environment. So I found that Rain took up maybe a tenth of the screen by himself, and we're working with a digital D-pad. I mean, it's not a digital D-pad; it's a click drag. Jeff, how do you feel about click drag to move your character around a grid?
I mean, look, I've played all of Dragon Quest II on Android just as a like, why not, sick thing a few years ago, and that was one of those drag. It was a digital analog stick, right?
And this isn't even the worst digital analog stick we've interacted with. That still goes to First Soldier. That analog stick placement was fucking dog shit, dude.
Yeah, in addition to having to move in 3 dimensions, which, like, I get there's an entire generation that has grown up just doing that, and, like, we're old men yelling at clouds about this a little bit, but, I don't know, like, it's... when we talk about the other thing we're going to talk about, I think it's at least gameplay. Okay. You know? It sounds like you're interacting with something. That sounds okay to me.
You are. I mean, you move around towns and you can talk to people. I just found the dragging, like my character was not following my digital analog stick super well, like navigating the town.
I mean, that's part of the thing. So I think that the bigger thing is, so what are you moving around in, Gino? I mean, there's got to be an overworld, right? There's a world map, right?
No, it's like Opera Omnia, where there are just kind of like discrete locations you click on, and then you get a menu of levels, and the levels just throw you straight into battles. But there are some occasions where you can wander around a dungeon. You can go back to those dungeons and then wander around, and you'll get into random battles.
Which that stuff feels completely superfluous. I think that the game would actually be speedier and quicker if you didn't even have those parts. But
yeah, and I mean honestly, because this game is in its end game, the items and stuff you get from going back to those places are outclassed so badly by the late game content. You don't need to do any of that stuff.
But yeah, they're called exploration stages that are in between combat sequences. They can allow you to interact with characters, shops. You can even pick up some side quests. I will say this though. When you move far enough away from one of these exploration stages and you remember about a quest or needing to like cash something in, dragging your character all the way back to that previous location sucks.
Sure does. That really sucks. Navigating around the town sucks. Buying items for Gil kind of sucks. Like, this game feels like an RPG Maker game or something,
Uh-huh.
right? It feels like a
Yeah.
pretty rudimentary RPG Maker game. And then they bolted on, as these gacha games tend to do, they bolted on mechanic after mechanic after mechanic.
Yeah,
to make it so that you
there's one too
acquire
many
the new ones.
mechanics. Probably the biggest one is this is a gacha game, so there is an energy bar. There's only so many in-game things that you can do before the game says you can't do any more unless you give us money or you wait for 5 to 10 minutes. And that's always fun when it's like, I'll get having a good groove here, and now you're telling me I can't play the game.
Yeah, and
The next,
on top of that bar, like in combat, there's attack, there's defend, there's spells, and then there's like an abilities meter. And the abilities
right.
vary from character to character. Like some characters, at first they all had like one ability gauge, like a drive. I think they're called drives. Then, at least now, there's characters who are special, and they can have like modes, like Cloud can be regular Cloud or Cloud on motorcycle. Some of them have trances, so like Terra is normal Terra and then trance Terra. Or you can get overdrive for like your Tidus, and he'll get overdrive. And then there's limit breaks, and so they've thrown all of these different mechanics into this game to remind you of other better Final Fantasies.
Well,
but that
ties into the fact that this game, generally speaking, just has too many mechanics. So
yes.
Sorry, finish.
No, that's it. Is like they just kept layering in more and more mechanics. It would seem to the point where starting from scratch, you're just overwhelmed immediately.
You've got all of the typical inventory, paper doll inventory things. You can put new weapons on characters. Those require special item-based drops and pulls. There are 8 elements: fire, ice, water, lightning, earth, wind, light, dark. Guess what? Each of those elements has a environment where they are both the strongest element, and there's going to be an environment where each element is at its weakest. There are espers, which are different than the visions. The espers are carried over from previous Final Fantasy games, because not only do we need to have the guest characters, we need to have the summons in this game, and they are also completely unique things that you need to pull separately from the character's weapons and other items. And then there's the chain mechanic, which actually might be maybe the most creative part of this game, is chaining things. Now, admittedly, is it great? No.
How does it work? What do you mean by when you say chaining, for those who have not played
chaining,
this
the
game?
timing of attacks between characters in a party to do multiple hits in succession is it is multiplicative, if not exponential, to a certain degree. This is the combat system of chaining things in Final Fantasy 13. But oddly enough, easier to contextualize, grapple, and execute upon, because it's a mobile game and it's intended to go for general audiences. Like the weird thing is that there's a chain cap. So like at default, maybe your chain cap maxes out at 4. You can get it up to like higher numbers than that. But yeah, when you pull off these chains, like quick hits, successive attacks after successive attack, and then top on like elemental chain bonuses, plus you maybe pulled a new item and you gave it a shot for the first time and you realize that it's really good. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that's the gacha thing, and it feels good when you get a new item and it's got all these stars on it, and it clearly's got like shiny holographics on the edges of its card. Like, the game does a good job of making those items feel leagues, fathoms above what you normally get out of standard combat.
Yep, and the animations for like a crystal exploding and then the visions coming out, like I think it's too slow for my liking. But it looks cool. It looks cool when
Yeah.
you get a new character that's
Unlike
good.
the other thing that we will talk about, this game, at the very least, you can say the pixel art is okay to good.
Yes. Yes. So this game, I think it's pretty slow. It ran poorly on my phone, but my phone is not every phone. But yeah, I found the gotcha exploitative stuff to be so overbearing that there wasn't much
I think
else
that we
to
haven't really
enjoy.
talked about that, Gino. We've talked about the core mechanics. In what ways would this game? Because I think that that is the overall takeaway from Brave Exvius is that it feels exploitative. Just talk about real quickly, like what we mean by this.
I mean, there's energy, right? So like taking on missions, you eventually cannot just keep taking them on. They stop you artificially. Like a bunch of there's a like daily wheel of rewards that can give you juice to like refill your gauge. To spin that wheel, you have to watch an ad. To do your pulls, you have to watch ads for some pulls. Um, there's Am I missing like you need to stack dupes to level up characters. Every character has like a bunch of paper doll slots, and then they also have some other slots depending on their type. So you need to max out a character. They have to get to like level 80, and you need to do all of this other equipment stuff and these other mechanics that also involve pulling. So there's maybe like 4 or 5 different things, and summons too. Like there's 4 or 5 different things you have to pull for, many of which are going to be gated by ads or by energy
On top
or
of that,
by
it's very easy
time.
to inefficiently level up characters. Like you can make
Yes.
mistakes, you can get bad pulls, which this is how the game makes its money. This is how this game basically, I mean, this game almost made $1 billion. But like most gotcha games, it had a peak. It didn't. The unique thing about Brave Exvius is that it didn't immediately bottom out like most mobile games. It peaked in around 2017, 2018, and then the drop from 2018 to 2019, I just sent you the graph, was not as dramatic as other mobile games where people just move on to the next thing and this is dead forever. Like, this game was still as late and far back as 2020, 2021, making over $50 million per year. Which, video games, man, right?
Yeah. And that's kind of the wild
Like,
thing
this
about
thing
it.
made its money.
I mean, it made a bunch of money. That is beyond dispute. I don't know that it's very fun or well made. Well, I
Well,
guess
even
it's
if
well
it's
made.
being discontinued, so what we need to be very careful about, only the global version of this game is being discontinued. It sounds like the Japanese version is going to be maintained well
Oh, wow.
beyond the global version.
Nuts.
Which, sure, you know, I guess,
Yeah, I mean,
whatever.
look, it's making money. It's continuing to make money. I don't know, man. There wasn't that much here, and I will say, based on the representation that Brave Exvius gets in the card game, people like them some Brave Exvius. I don't know crap about these characters. It seems like it's just gotcha hell, but
I think that Rain
someone
is
cares about
an
Rain.
interesting character design. Like, he's like the weird thing about this X characters designs, despite being Nomura designs, they're pretty not crazy. Like, Rain just has a soldier suit, and he like always puts his red coat around his waist or on his shoulders rather than button it up. But he's not an over the top character design. And then your female companion, not the one that wears the cami white like battle bikini thing or the leotard, but these character designs are not insane or over the top, and they also have the Amano art for them.
They do. So that's a thing. That is something. That is definitely something they have going for them. I just don't. playing as much as I played, I don't get it. But maybe it really opens up. These gacha games tend to be giving you new content like every week, or every 2 weeks. So people who have been playing
I
it for
should
8
take that
years,
back.
I'm
There's
sure.
the Dark Fina character, and she's got bazongers. She's got big bazongers. But there's like a Riku-looking character who's like the manic pixie girl that does machines and stuff, and she actually, Lid looks like Final Fantasy X Riku, not Final Fantasy X-2 Riku, and that was kind of pleasant. They have a character that looks like the anime shitboy from Final Fantasy 13. His name in this game is Nicole.
Oh,
Nickel.
he's like Noel. Yeah, Nickel. Yep, I'm aware of Nickel. A lot of these
Jake,
all of these guys got
grizzled war veteran.
Got cards in the card game, and their cards are generally quite good. I generally correlate, did this person get a good iconic card with someone cares about this? Because the characters who are exclusive to like Fiat Rhythm, they don't get the good cards.
Season 4 apparently was more like characters that are in the style of characters from Bravely Default or in Tactics. So good on them. Good on them. Like they actually thematically grouped together the Final Fantasy products to match things. Like season 3 was more a 15-ish streak. Because it was like Urbanites. I don't know. I feel bad for the people who may have I say this all the time, but I feel bad for people who invest in a gacha game and it worked for you for whatever reason, whether it be lizard brain hooks and stuff like that, or maybe you actually saw something in this story that no one here saw. I feel bad. I always feel bad when these sorts of games not just get pulled, but they cease to exist.
Yes,
like when a mobile game is pulled, I think that it just never exists again.
And that is definitely a shame that you cannot go back and check how this game was even if you wanted to. So shall we rank this game?
Let me say this because I had to look this up. Final Fantasy Brave Exvius is available on mobile devices through the global version of the game available worldwide. Will be shutting down end of October 30th, 2024. No statement has been provided for the non-global worldwide release. So maybe they actually are. If you get a Japanese phone, maybe you will. Oh, yeah. There's been no such message on the Japanese account suggesting it will remain in service in that region. So, hey, guys, we got to get Japanese phones,
learn Japanese.
Learn how to solve Kapka using katakana. You'll be fine. This is actually how I set up my PSO2 account.
Shall we rank Brave Exvius?
Sure.
Yeah.
Or should we do all the Bravest first and then rank them both at the end? What do we think?
I could go either way. I don't care.
Okay, let's rank it.
Put it on there.
So this is the list for all who remember. Our current ranking of fantasies is as follows: Final Fantasy 6, then 9, then 10, then 7, 8, 7 Remake, 5, 12, the trading card game, Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy 13, Stranger Paradise, Final Fantasy Origins, Final Fantasy 1, Final Fantasy Legend of the Crystals, Final Fantasy 3, Dissidia, Final Fantasy Opera Omnia, 10-2, 15, 13-2, Advent Children, Final Fantasy 7, The Kids Are All Right, a Turk side story, Final Fantasy The Spirits Within, the movie, Final Fantasy 7, On the Way to a Smile, a different light novel, Kingsglaive, Final Fantasy 15, Mobius, Final Fantasy, A King's Tale, Final Fantasy 15, Brotherhood, Final Fantasy 15, Final Fantasy 7, Last Order, Final Fantasy 7, The First Soldier, Final Fantasy 14, Hikari no Otosan, aka Dad of Light, Final Fantasy 5, Dear Friends, Final Fantasy 2, 11, World of Final Fantasy, Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, 10-2 Last Mission, 13, Final Fantasy 6 Special Tracks, the album, and last and least, Final Fantasy Unlimited, the anime. Let's start from the bottom, shall we?
Okay.
It's better than Unlimited.
Yeah,
sure.
It's better than Special Tracks.
I'll agree to that.
Yes.
Is it better than 13?
No.
Probably
It's
not.
like here's the thing. Like we can hate on 13 all we want. 13's a video game.
Yes.
Like when did 13 ever ask me to spend like $2.99 to be able to play the game more than what it thought I was allowed to play, or subject me to a deluge of the worst mobile games in the form of advertisements ever made?
Yeah, I mean, this is not a situation where, oh man, we just hate gotchas. Because Dissidia Opera Omnia is number 15 on this list. We have Mobius at 24. We have First Soldier at 28. Like, we've played some mobile games that are gotcha based. This is the worst of them. Like, Opera Omnia was not
No.
anywhere near as exploitative. Neither was Mobius. Even though we didn't love Mobius necessarily. Same thing with First Soldier.
Like Mobius
that
is
was at least a game.
In hindsight, Mobius is incredibly ambitious in terms of its production values and its storytelling.
Yes,
Like that's what I've come
100%.
around to.
This
Like
is
that game had fully 3D cutscenes with a story and fully 3D rendered worlds, and it even released on PC. Like that game went for it.
it
And
did.
they probably shut it down because it was too expensive to maintain. But they went for it. This
I
game
agree.
is the most bottom of the barrel stuff in terms of the world of Gacha. Like,
Yeah, it's like here's a pixel art version of your favorite Final Fantasy character. You can use them because they're better than the characters in this game, and they outclassed Rain and all of those people. Unless you get super hyper ultra Rain. So yeah, let's our new number 37. Congratulations, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, you suck. All right, now Final Fantasy All the Bravest. Jeff, what is this?
Okay.
oh boy.
So y'all been talking. There are a couple key things that differentiate these two gotcha games, and make no mistake, we're talking about two different gotcha games. One is Final Fantasy Brave Exvius is a game that's not yet delisted from any app stores. It will be, but not quite yet as of the time of this recording. Whereas All the Bravest was officially taken down in 2022 from everywhere, as best I can tell.
The Android version was 2022. Apparently, the iOS version kept running until summer of 2023.
Interesting. So that's it. So it is now gone to the wind. We'll talk about how we went about playing this in short order. The other difference is Brave Exvius sounds like there's actually some game parts in it where you play it. And All the Bravest is a game that dares to ask the question, but what if you didn't? I'll explain. So, this is one that has a bit of a reputation. I'll say this was a very popular whipping boy for a certain Stephanie Sterling character individual at time of launch. It's been kind of a poster child for like bad Square, bad mobile game IGN
of all places took the unprecedented step of issuing a video review that was literally titled PSA, don't buy this game. That was their like front page review, is just straight up saying, don't buy it. Don't do this.
So this is a game, big sneer quotes, I guess, where the sum total of your interactions are you can touch buttons on the screen. These buttons are incidentally shaped like characters from sprite-based Final Fantasy games. You can touch a button on the screen that says you can now just touch these buttons forever without timers, because there's timers. Or you can wait. Or you can pay money. Basically, the things you do in this application are swipe the screen insofar as it lets you do that. Choose to occasionally swipe the screen with abandon. wait until you're given permission to swipe the screen, or pay money. Those are the 4 things you can do. This is a game that does not have, insofar as most of the games in the Final Fantasy pantheon are concerned, characters. This is a game that does not have a story.
Nope, no story.
This is a game that does not have really any original content to speak of except for the in-game index of things that you can accumulate over time. Has like some kind of stub 3-line text for each one of these characters and weapons, which I'm gonna say are, and it's actually just the characters. The weapons don't have descriptions.
So
I'm gonna say that the writing there is like very 2010 internet humor friendly.
Yeah,
it is basically like, Ken has pizza levels of witty. That's like the new content. That's really about it.
So if you like the codex entries from, say, I think the best codex that we ever interacted with is World of Final Fantasy, which was the nicest thing I think we could say about that game, is whoever wrote those codex entries, they had a fun time.
They did.
So take that codex entries is joke delivery system, lore delivery system, and like divide that by a 16th, like you get like 1,000th of that charm and witticism. And then also like the only real big hook in terms of what's keeping you here is the party is big. Your party is massive.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're dealing with a grid of 4 by
It's a 5x5 grid.
8, so 32 characters.
Yeah, the little plane there.
Yeah.
And now you may be asking, how do you get 32 characters? Well, it's pretty easy. The game just gives them to you occasionally. As best I can tell, it's not really based on the level, which you are accumulating XP in this thing, allegedly, but the intervals at which it decides you go from having a single party member to 2 to 3 to 4, it feels sort of haphazard, which is a very common theme with how this game elects to dole out its paltry content. But yeah, so you begin with like a character slot, or I think 4. I don't remember. It's been a while since I started playing this. It must be 4. Because I think I started playing this years ago. Let's talk about why. Let's talk about getting this game. ZP, how did you get access to this thing?
I had a Samsung tablet that I downloaded this game ages ago, and it was my grandmother's tablet because it I guess I will share this information. I have a grandmother who has developed early onset dementia, and her tablet assists her with remembering her lists and her things to do. It has progressed to the point where that is no longer an effective strategy. But I downloaded this on her tablet when she wasn't looking because I was spending time caring for her. This is something that I always remember being 1.5 stars on the Android marketplace. Like if you sorted opposite of highest rank, this would always be one of the first results, with like the calculator and flashlight apps that would actually give you malware right next to it. You can't download this game. I don't even think that anyone in the usual sources has uploaded this as a ROM. And I don't even remember what ended up happening to the developer Bitgroove after this game came out.
Oh, I haven't actually looked that up.
But how about you, Jeff? Did you find a way to get this game to work?
Bizarrely similar story. The individual I was dating prior to my wife got a Samsung Galaxy Tab 3 from whatever phone provider she had at the time. And at some point was just like, just take, I don't want this. I don't know what I would even do with this. So I was like, oh, okay. So I have this like tablet that's been floating around in my life for about a decade. And at some point I was like, I should probably download this thing. Because it seems like this might be interesting to like laugh at later on in life. Now that it's lost media, this tablet, which I've now kind of been using as a digital textbook platform thing, it's kind of gotten some new life in it. So it's been a chance to go back and look at the, save I have from whenever I downloaded this loathsome thing, probably around 2017 or something like that. Oh.
I found out. So Bitgrove has made 2 video games in their history.
Okay.
One is this, All the Bravest. The other is Kingdom Hearts Unchanged X. The free-to-play Kingdom Hearts game that was first released on web browsers and eventually re-released on mobile games as Kingdom Hearts Unchanged X. It is both the 8th and the 9th installment in the Kingdom Hearts franchise.
I hate that sentence so much. So just a question. I have looked at some screenshots of this game, and there appears to be combat. Is that true?
No.
No.
And what is the screenshot of your 25 by your 25 person party standing opposite some big sprites?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Gino.
Yeah.
So, what if I told you that in the old times, in the before times, there was this guy, and his name was Hironobu Sakaguchi, and he had himself a conundrum because you see, there was these Dragon Quest games, and he thought those were neat, so he ripped them off kind of wholesale, but with better art, and called it Final Fantasy. He's like, you know what? I would like something that's maybe a little more action-y. So he tried to square the circle by, instead of just having things based on background math in terms of who would fight when, there were little timers that would run called the active time battle system, right?
Yes.
Crazy, but it's true. Look forward to our show about Final Fantasy IV. So this game, your party consists of sprites chosen at random, bookmark that, in each combat sequence. So like the game is you progressing across a map, right? Each little area will have like 4 locations on it. You'll alternate between a set of random encounters and a boss fight. You'll fight basically 4 sets of random encounters that are vaguely themed on like Final Fantasy V or Final Fantasy VI, like kind of one of the pre-3-dimensional games. In that combat, what you do is, when you start out anyway, you'll just wait for little active time bars to fill, which, I'm going to say take between like 1 and 4 seconds, and then tap the character when their bar is full, and they will just launch an attack. And that's it. So the only choice is to hit, right?
This is why I actually don't consider this game a gacha. Now, hear me out, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Okay, hear me out. This is not a gacha. This is the pre-gacha era of mobile and browser games. This is a Zynga. This is a Farmville. This is a meter-based mobile game. So Square Enix is always, it feels like, 2 years behind the curve with making games that are not their mainline entries in the Final Fantasy franchise.
Their mainline entries are often 2 years behind as well nowadays.
So, to me, the fact that this is meter-based, sometimes real in-time, in-game time-based, reeks of someone played Farmville, someone played a Zynga on a Facebook, and what they made, because they knew Farmville was making a lot of money. We forget this fact, but there was a period of time where Farmville may have actually been the most played video game on the planet.
Yeah, it was the most popular. Zynga used to be like trading very highly in the stock market.
And it turned out that they were cooking their books alongside Facebook's data in terms of their user metrics on Facebook, but that's a different issue that also simultaneously gutted physical media. We're not going to get into that. However, this feels like a Zynga, not a gacha, to me. The thing that I think Jeff is forgetting about is once you get more than 10 characters, and sometimes the characters are Tifa Lockhart, Renoa Heartlily, Tara Branford, a Chocobo, a Moogle, like actual
Well,
characters that you know from time to time, sometimes only in one-off circumstances.
so
Those are
that
the
does
premium characters.
yeah, those do not appear unless you are dropping money.
Yeah.
To be clear,
And also those characters are a lot better than your normal characters.
But what does better mean here? The bar fills up faster and you tap
Bar
them?
fills
or...
up faster, and most of them, it's like when you tap like Tifa, she automatically KOs like whatever's in front of you, which you don't need to buy. Like the whole point is that you get to see their cool animations, and it's like the same animation every single time.
Do the enemies attack you back?
Yes.
yes.
So this gets to something that I think that Jeff's not talking about. The issue of death is a big one when you're only like 4 or 5 characters. But once you cross the threshold of 6 characters, like the odds of you dying or getting a total party wipe, just it never becomes a factor at all. Other than the game literally does a total party kill because it's the final boss and it's trying to purposefully force you to spend money. So the balance is kind of messed up. I don't know how you felt about it, Jeff.
I mean, it's just a very predictable flow overall. Like you kind of clock, these random encounters, and then get to a boss fight, and it's either functionally insurmountable insofar as it will just outdamage you, kill as many party members as you can throw at it, and then you engage with the other main mechanic in this game, which is either wait or pay money. And characters will res at a rate of like 1 every 3 minutes. So if you've got like the possibility of wielding 12 characters, you can do some pretty basic multiplication here and start grokking this out. Or you can click the bell. If you click the bell, it'll just bring everyone back at once. And that lasts
$3.
they get $3 a bell, baby.
So imagine if you would, Gino, a Phoenix Down costs $3 actual dollars.
Can I earn a Phoenix Down through...
No. They start you with a couple, though. They give your first one's free. One's free.
This is why I call this a Zynga, because the average person is just going to like, oh, well, I guess I'll try again. And there's really no punishment for being KO'd.
You can back out of combat like immediately. You could just be like, fuck this, and restart with everyone.
But what is there to decide, though? If
there's my rub. That's just it. There's no decision making in this. The decisions are wait or spend money.
That's my question. Is like,
yes, you
retry the battle.
How is
it gonna go? How is the battle gonna go differently if you do it again?
It does not. Well, I'll tell you, the things that it'll do differently are there are a few enemies that don't grok all the time. So you'll wind up fighting through mobs just to try to get certain guys to show up. And the question there is, well, why would you give a shit? It doesn't matter. Well, the answer is the enemies will drop weapons.
Yeah.
Randomly.
Okay.
And what do the weapons actually do? Well, they make the math bigger. So like flat damage increases basically, and they stack. So like all of the characters who vaguely fall in like the Final Fantasy job system from like 5, let's say, who are like knights, people that would wield like long swords or big heavy swords, they just wind up with like 10 different long swords if you can get them to drop. So what you actually wind up doing if you want to like be a sicko in this game is just farm over and over again. We're getting back to the Farmville kind of thinking here, for these item drops, which only just make fights last less time, and then take those to boss fights and try to beat them, I guess, without engaging with the fever mechanic, which I haven't really explained, but every 3 hours, I think, a button appears that just says fever. And what it does is just temporarily, I'm going to say like maybe 15, 20 seconds or so, disables the ATB gauges for your dudes. So you can just swipe around. as much as you want. There's a point that you hit, I'm going to say maybe halfway through your time with this game, if you're playing it a normal way and not spending money, where what this game turns into is you just fat fingering your entire hand across the right side of whatever screen it is you have over and over again, just trying to get these people to attack whatever picture is on the left side of the screen as soon as our little bars fill up. It is a screen wiping simulator.
And maybe we didn't explain this part also. When you get KO'd, you just can up-res in the battle, and the damage that you did leading up to your KO is still there unless you back out of the battle and reset it.
Yes.
So, Gino, like, you get KO'd, maybe the boss still has the ability to KO your party, which, again, the odds of it happening dramatically reduce when you start to get closer to that max total of 32 characters. When you up-res your characters or just waited it out, all of the progress you made on that boss up to that KO is still there. Okay. So you can just grind it away. You can attrition every single battle. Another Zynga-ism, you can earn extra character slots, or back in the day you could do this. You can earn extra character slots by tweeting about how much fun you were having with the game on Facebook and Twitter. Mm-hmm. It had leaderboards, so is that you could see, oh, I went through this sequence with this number of characters and this amount of time, and my best friend beat me by 5 seconds. So now I have better characters. I want to beat them on that leaderboard. Okay. Maybe they had a Tifa. Maybe I should try to have Renoa. Who's to say which one is better unless I actually pit myself up against the people who played this game also.
And so getting the Renoas and the Tifas, you're paying money to pull them, right? There is a pull system.
So yes, you pay a $1 American, and that lets you pull from a pool of 35 named characters you'd recognize. I'd also like to say, related to this, some of the items that drop from enemies, there's a category of just handguns. There is not a single character in the base game that uses these handguns. You would need to get, presumably, the fucking Saj or something to randomly drop out of this thing, which is not a guaranteed thing to happen. Right.
If you pay $35, do you get all 35 of them, or is it random? And if you get dupes, you can't use the dupes. Like, how does that?
I can't speak to that because I did not bother. I say this: I'd be really surprised if they did that, because there's so little else here.
I did not spend money on this game, but if you actually look at screenshots of this game, playing dupes is actually something that you see all the time.
Okay, so great. That's buck fucking wild.
Like, so, this screenshot I am looking at has 2 Setzers, 3 black mages, 2 warriors.
Well, that's playing dupes, but pulling dupes out of the gacha mechanic here.
Yeah, you can pull dupes, but you can still use them.
I mean, because this game will, to be clear, at a certain point, there's 25 different types of characters and 32 slots. And again, to be clear, each time you start a world to fight in, you do not choose your party composition. The game just throws stuff in there. And it's usually a pretty good mix, but I did have 1 or 2 times where it was congrats, it's all archers. Or congrats, it's all dancers. And it's why?
I had one where it was almost 8 to 9 thieves, and it's great. Half of my party just gets wiped because they have next to no HP.
I'll say honest, such that anything really matters in this game. By far the best characters are the Onion Knights because their attack takes forever. So while your characters are sitting there waiting over there on the right hand side, they're vulnerable to enemy attacks, which are basically 1 hit and you just get blown off the field. Onion Knights will, in classic, NES Final Fantasy ways, just go over there and hit something 16 times with a sword. So their attack just takes long enough that they tend to be busy or otherwise occupied while their attacks are going off. so they wind up usually being pretty durable.
So you chain Onion Knights together so that your other characters can get their bars filled up, basically.
I mean, when the game lets you, because you have no choice in the matter. Like the choice is you could not touch the screen or touch the screen at some level. And like, look, you could reduce a lot of this hobby in general to like you're just making pictures move on a screen. You fucking bozo, who cares? I understand that. I engage with this concept willingly. I know. But this is
we had to know.
Down that road of
we brought
like,
this on ourselves, Jeff.
Like ontologically, where does the game actually start? Which I think for me, it's what makes this, I think, particularly I think the Farmville comparison's actually fairly apt. It's so one of the developers on this particular project, his name was, let's see if I get this interview, Ichiro Hazama, who was a producer, presumably from Pit Groove, in an interview, described this as, quote, a fun app, not a game.
Oh, sweet.
To that I say, no, fuck you. Then why are you charging? Why is there $50 worth, as a floor of stuff you can buy in this game?
And you have to buy access to some of the areas, right? Like,
yeah, they're just level packs that are themed around Final Fantasy 7, 10, and 13, which, those would be desirable if they weren't functionally just the same content, but the pictures are different.
mm-hmm.
Like the main thing that I think from the little poking around I did, it's just, yeah, like, you know how you had to fight the final boss of this game and it was Neo X Death from Final Fantasy V and it had like 3.5 million hit points? Well, what if it was a different picture and it had like 5 million hit points?
So let's rank this thing, because it seems like there's not much here. Let's start again from the bottom.
Yeah.
No. I mean,
let's start from the bottom. We can work our way up.
Okay.
Is this worse than Final Fantasy Unlimited? Sounds like
it
maybe.
Might be.
Yes.
Like, probably.
It is. It is maliciously designed.
Yes.
It has no creative merit.
It doesn't.
It is exploitative.
That's true.
It does nothing original with the tools that it was given.
Okay, so
Final Fantasy Unlimited is an original world. Like, there are characters, there are things that happen in that truly are unique. Not greatly unique, not wonderful, not positively unique, but it is unique.
Okay.
This took Lego pieces and like shoved them up its ass and then pulled them out and then said that here's a new thing.
Okay, so I guess we've got an existential question here, don't we? Is it worse to be completely banal, basically the equivalent of a screensaver with reused assets, but it's free, and it aspired to nothing and achieved nothing? It hit its goal. Or be an unmitigated mess that aspired to be more, but clearly was unfinished and was poorly considered, like really poorly thought out. Maybe one of the worst things I've ever watched. But there's art that was made by humans in it. There's music in it that people worked on. There's assets there. Voice actors got paid to make Final Fantasy Unlimited, as opposed to what is basically a fancy screensaver that's trying to exploit money out of you. So do we think artistic failure is worse than raw capitalism, or do we think raw capitalism is worse? What is worse here? One is inconsequential but bad. One was maybe emblematic of the failing of a company. But someone cry when they made it at some point.
There's nothing like I would say. Neither of these products have TCG characters, right?
No.
I mean, there's
either of
nothing
them
from-
are either of them in the Final
No.
Fantasy trading card game?
No, the trading card game
Would
does
you
not
want
acknowledge either of
Soil
these
is my
products.
power.
I would.
Soil?
Yes, I would very much like
would-
Soil is my power. to be in that game.
There goes your answer, because there's nothing in all of the Bravest that you could ever imagine being in the card game, because there's nothing original in it.
Okay.
There's no
that's a great
story.
point.
There's no
That's a
world.
great
There's
point.
nothing. There's a nothing.
If I saw Gunman, what's his name again? I forget his name. It doesn't matter. If I saw Gunman in the card game, I would lose my shit. I would try to build a Final Fantasy Unlimited deck with shitty sex pest Sid and babysitter woman and the two children who are not children. That would be very funny. And the
that
dog
weird
girl.
star-shaped guy who talked like Vegeta, basically.
Yeah. All of your favorites are here. Fungus
Beardy
Man.
Man.
Fungus Man.
Yeah, the can.
Mushroom Man.
Every time he gets close to the screen and he blows out of his pipe, the clip they play hundreds of times.
Remember when they killed Mushroom Man and he stayed dead?
Remember the like weird water cube thing?
Yeah,
they're
the
in
water.
for it's like 10 episodes.
I did. Okay, we've got it. We've got an answer. We've got an answer.
Yeah.
We're having
I
fond
don't
memories of that garbage.
We always say this. I don't know if there is anything that's going to beat all the Bravest. I don't know. I don't think there is.
When we saw Unlimited, we didn't think anything would, but now
no.
you know,
I always would tell Jeff, like, look, we still haven't played all the Bravest. Like, I feel like I always knew that this would be the worst ranked thing, unless like something would have to be actively more irresponsible and genuinely harmful for either the franchise and or the communities that it's trying to depict or target. Like, it would have to be a targeted attack that's totally unwarranted, unneeded. I don't think you make anything that is worse than all the Bravest.
All right, we have a new worst thing we've played with the Final Fantasy name on it. Final Fantasy All the Bravest. A game so bad, even IGN told you not to play it. With that,
7 out of 10.
with that, I think we're done for today. We've done our penance, and we will be back with Final Fantasy IV next time, when there's not the threat of a server being turned off. Thank you, ZP.
We can dance if we want to. We can leave your friends behind because your friends don't dance. And if they don't dance, well, they're no friends of mine. I say, okay, we can go where we want to, a place where they'll never find.
Much, Jeff.
And we cannot.
How you
we can
doing,
act
Jeff?
like we come out of this world, leave the real one far behind. We can
Just sing my name. I like it.
Sing my name, girl.
Doing it from pole to pole.
Thank you, dear listeners. Reminder, you can get in touch with the show at DeepListensPod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections, and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. And you can support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. Till next time, peace. You can dance if you want to. Oh, you monster. Getting that song stuck in my head, you monster.
I'm listening to the Farmville theme now, so